So, everyone, welcome back to the Empowerment Series. And as you know, this series is about talking to our great civic leaders and CEOs and talking to them during a time when a lot of people want guidance and want to hear how they've done well, whether they're whatever it is, whether they're on different sides of the aisle, whether they've had a health scare, um, a family issue, whatever it is, a work issue, they want to hear from our top CEOs. So I am particularly honored and privileged to have Madeline Bell with us today. Madeline is the CEO of CHOP, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. It is the best and premier hospital system in the world. Seriously, it's number one, and Madeline runs it, and she is awesome. I'm privileged to call her my friend. But I want to also just tell you how this is my bio of Madeline, which you've never heard before, but this is how I think of you. Years ago, so fast go backwards, my daughter Elizabeth had major back surgery for scoliosis at CHOP. And she had always said to me, Mom, I want to give back. And then she fast forward, she was getting her MBA at Penn and a master's in engineering. And she said, I want to really give back. Is there any way I could go volunteer as an intern over at CHOP? And Madeline said yes. And all I can tell you is I will never forget the night she called me and said, Mom, I just went to an event with Madeline to help her. We walked back together, and it was one of the most important experiences of my life. And
Mm.
I know that it's not just Elizabeth. She does this for so many people. And in fact, the joke in our family is when fast forward again, where Elizabeth had her first baby last year, she said to me, Mom, I hope you don't mind, but if I deliver, I prefer to have Madeline in the operating room instead of you, or delivery room. So that none of that happened. I was a little insulted, but I'm very happy for Madeline that she felt that way. And finally, Madeline and I became good friends when I chaired the chamber board, the Greater Philadelphia Chamber Board. She was on the executive committee, and Madeline and our friend Jamie were all, quite frankly, they were very, very important to me, and my sounding board on a lot of different things as we navigated through COVID. Madeline is a big giver to our city and region. I know it's worldwide, but here she really just does so much. So long introduction, but I wanted to explain how important you are to me and my family, but to me in particular as a friend. And thank you for being on. And really, what I think everybody wants to know is, when was that moment? Was there a moment when you said, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself? Can you tell us, was there a moment when that happened?
Well, I think life is a series of moments. But if I point to the moment that was most consequential to my career, I would certainly say the decision to go from being chief operating officer to being CEO. And
Love that.
I actually loved being operating officer. Loved the job, felt like I understood it well, had my arms around it. And I did that for 8 years. And then when other hospitals started calling me for CEO jobs, uh, it was when I started thinking to myself, is this something I really want to do? Because I was so happy doing what I was doing that I couldn't imagine doing that job. And there were parts of it that I wasn't sure I liked or would be perfectly suited to do. But once I started pursuing it and realized other people thought I could do it, that was a decision point for me, which I
Love
think
that.
is a mistake because
Oh,
I always say to people, you have to believe in yourself before other people will believe in you. And that narrative of your own confidence in your own ability will be apparent to other people who will then see you in the role. So for me, my journey was really other people seeing me in the role and saying, "Why aren't you doing this?" And that was a key decision point because I had to say, "Yeah, why am I not doing this, pursuing a CEO role?"
I
So
love that. Yeah,
that was very different for me.
I love that. And my question to you is, so for those people out there who maybe don't believe in themselves, you know, or they don't get someone saying you should go to the next step, what the heck do you say to them? I mean, in your situation, people were like, "Okay, let's go for it. We want you for other jobs." So you're like, "Hey, I think I could do it," from what I'm hearing. And the
Yes.
question is, for those folks who maybe don't get that great feedback for whatever reason, is there something
Yeah, I think
recommend?
it's
Yeah.
all about self-talk.
Yes.
If you can see yourself being successful and believe in yourself, other people will believe in you. So it has to
Love it.
start with your own narrative
Yes.
to yourself
I
that,
love that.
yes, I think I can see myself doing this. It's getting outside of your comfort zone. I can't tell you how many times I talk to people in mentoring conversations who uh, talk themselves out of taking another step. It doesn't mean to be taking another step from COO to CEO. It could be stepping out of the career you're in today and moving into a lateral career, a completely different career. Or this has actually been a conversation as well, is becoming a parent. Having children is a huge decision and changes your life.
Mm.
Uh, and you really bet on yourself and say, yes, I can be a parent, even though you may not have experience. So I've had these conversations with people about personal and professional things in life, is that you've got to have your own self narrative that you can do something before you can convince other people.
I love that. That's fantastic advice. You've got to have your own self-narrative. And, before you can convince others, you've got to learn how to believe in yourself as a first step. I think that's terrific.
And
And
get out of your comfort zone.
and get out of your comfort
It's
zone.
so easy to be in your comfort zone. Like,
Yes.
we all have our routines, we all have the things that we feel good about and that we've accomplished. And the minute you challenge yourself, you create discomfort to yourself. And
When
that
you yes.
and
Yeah,
along with that comes anxiety, right?
well, that's right. And I mean, as you know better than anybody, because you were right there helping me when I chaired the chamber board and then COVID struck. That was what you're saying is like, okay, we got to do this. We've got to believe in each other. I've got to believe in myself to be able to do this. I've got to be able to reach out to you and ask you for your thoughts and advice and be like, and you were like, boom, you were right there. Um, because that's who you are. But I agree with you. It is about just believing in who you are. Um, Thank you. You're the best. And thank you, may I say, I know I've told you this 1,000 times, but thank you. You've been a huge part of the transformation of our city and region, and I'm not just talking about CHOP, which is so important in all the lives and children's lives that you and your team have saved, but just you as a leader and a mentor to others, to women and men, to all of us. And I just can't thank you enough for you being you.
Well, I think it's an important part of a platform like I stand on, a CHOP, being the CEO and being one of the biggest employers, to be civically engaged.
Mhm.
And I think it's an obligation.
And
And I'm happy
one
to
of
do it.
I love that. And just actually one other thing I want to mention is I love and thank you for this, that you started as a nurse. Am I right about
Yes,
that?
I
And
started
and I
at
mean, how
bedside as a
great
nurse.
is that? And nurses are, as we all know, are so amazing and important to us. Can you give us a couple of steps about how you got to that point, and where that pivot was? Where, you talked about believing in yourself, but what were those key moments?
I think for me as a nurse, I loved what I was doing and I actually still miss it. I had a lot of questions about why things in healthcare were the way they were. And so I wanted to be able to not just ask myself those questions, I wanted to be part of the answer. And
Fantastic.
I wanted to really navigate and make big picture decisions about what happens in healthcare. So I left bedside nursing at CHOP and went to the mainline health hospital system and worked in
Mhm.
planning and new business development there, helping them to develop maternal child health programs. And it taught me a lot. And outside of, a pediatric hospital, and helped me to really understand just a different way that healthcare worked. And then I was ultimately recruited to come back to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in an administrative role, and took over a department that was failing, and they were thinking about eliminating a service line. And I was able to turn it around in a year. And frankly, it really wasn't hard to do that, but it got me noticed. And as a result of that, was given additional jobs to do. And every single time there were things. For example, I took over revenue cycle. I didn't know anything about revenue cycle, but I thought I know how to lead, I know how to hire people, and I can surround myself with people who understand the content. But to be a leader, you don't have to be a content expert or a subject matter expert. You just need to know how to lead people and hire people and give them the opportunity to make decisions. And so I there were lots
That's
of
and that's what empowerment leadership is all about.
yeah, and there was lots of pivots that I made that were lateral pivots, and I learned a new area, and never realizing that amassing all of this experience would help me to be a CEO one day. It wasn't like a chess move that I thought of, like, well, if I do this move, it'll lead to that move and it'll lead to that move. It was just there was serendipity, but I feel like the common thread was I took a leap to do something outside of my comfort zone every single time. And it was a series of many times when I had to push myself and learn new skills and believe in myself. So I always say to the nurses here at CHOP who know that I started as a nurse, I say to them, there wasn't anything special about me. I was a very good nurse and at the bedside and just like you, but I took a chance on myself. Other
Mm.
people took a chance on me, and I believed in myself that I could do something, and it obviously worked out.
It did. So thank you for taking a chance on yourself for all of us and for sharing all that terrific wisdom. You're the best.
My pleasure to be here today with you.